Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule and gracing us with your presence. Welcome to the very first webinar in the series of webinars where we'll be collaborating on important news, updates in the AdTech world and sharing the same with you so that we can contribute to your growth and progress. I am Nishchal Singh Rawat, Customer Success Manager in Trackier, and here with me is Mr. Himanshu Tiwari, VP of Customer Success, someone who has vast experience and knowledge in the field of AdTech industry. Along with us is our colleague Siddharth, who will be assisting us in the webinar. Thank you, Siddharth. We at Trackier enable you to create, automate, measure, and optimize all of your marketing campaigns, publishers, and advertisers, along with the creatives and conversions in one place. We are currently serving more than 700 loyal customers across 25 plus countries. I and Himanshu have a day filled with direct customer interactions to help strategize and achieve their desired goal with Trackier. We together solved many complex problems, and in the recent past, we saw one such issue, that is IDFA not existing in the AdTech ecosystem, which brings us to our today's topic. Today, we will be discussing iOS 14.5 and SKAdNetwork updates, followed by how Trackier is ready for those major updates. And in the end, we will have a 15 minutes Q&A where you can drop your questions, your feedback, your suggestions, or your experience, and we would be happy to answer your questions. So, coming to you, Himanshu, can you just start the webinar and give us a little brief about what is performance marketing all about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Nishal, for the introduction. We can start the presentation here. Right. So as we know, like performance marketing is exactly what it sounds like, a form of advertising centered around the action it inspires, right? Where is it the sales, lead, clicks? We are living in a technological world where data is constantly being mined from our behavior. With site visits, where we're buying from, what we are downloading, what we're performing, right? Yeah. And IDFA and GID is like very important part of that business. Exactly. So that we have a proper identification about the users that we are getting from the different clicks, impressions, right? Yeah. Now, as we got to know, like these IDFA and is going to vanish from the ecosystem that we are working from decades, right? So after this IDFA going to get vanished from the system, still we need to identify a way to get the attribution properly in the system, right? Yeah. And as we know, like Google has also introduced to stop sending the GID eventually. Like so, by the end of this year, we're going to see the same system for the GID as well. So we need to be prepared about it.
Definitely. I mean, thanks for the heads up. So I just wanted to ask that due to this update in the iOS 14.5, so will there be a huge impact to the CPI segment in terms of users and data collection?
Yeah, of course. Since as an end user, even I don't want anyone to keep an eye on my activities, right? And ask me to buy or ask me to install any kind of ads or application games or any kind of things, right? Yeah. So I am also concerned about the data privacy. So as a tech company, we respect the decision of Apple to vanishing these SKAdNetwork and like making more user-centric thing about the iOS, right? So we are promoting how the users supported we are supporting this Apple decision. So Siddharth, can you please share the presentation here?
Yeah. In case, guys, in case you are having any issues, please drop us a in the form of a question, and we will take care of that. In case our voice is not audible or the video is not audible, or in case you're not able to see the presentation, do drop us a question, and we will answer it and resolve it. Yeah,
exactly. So as we jump to this flurry in analytics, Verizon owned ad analytic company. So an estimation about 88% of iOS user worldwide has refused to allow the app to track them. So even as an end user, like even I have opted out to keep the app tracking my activities. I'm not asking my app to keep my activities to up to the mark to send the advertiser my data, like even I'm interacting with the application or installing the application or buying the thing. So that has been created, and that's created an impact in the situation.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt you, Himanshu. Siddharth, can you just move on to the next slide, please? Yeah. So I just wanted to ask one more question regarding this. So are we? Does that mean that we are never going to get IDFA value from the end user?
Yeah, so that's entirely on the user choice. In some cases, we're going to get the IDFA values, and most of the cases, we're not going to get the IDFA value. So as we can see, there's like four use cases here. One is like, where users say like, take my IDFA and do the attribution. So it's a normal process that we are going to have like for the last decades, right? Other
So
three cases
yeah.
be like a restriction,
Okay. So
user will not allow to pass the IDFA values as a referrer app or a referring app. So
okay.
it's referring app like wherever users like see the ads, see the
Mhm.
activities, make an install and etc. Do the action over the application. If
Mhm.
that is the case, all the attribution will going to happen via SKAdNetwork.
Okay. Okay. So like we have talked about, the IDFA value, and we have talked about how the users consent and the privacy ventures into the picture. Just I wanted to ask that how does SKAdNetwork fit into the picture?
Right. So to overcome this issue, now SKAdNetwork is not passing any kind of information to us. They try to create an environment for the ease of the advertisers. Right. So with this SKAdNetwork, Apple is making sure without changing or sending any user level data or like user diagnostic of data, they're sending all the relevant information for the attribution so that advertiser will know like they're having these kind of install or these amount of installs on the application. Right.
Yeah.
So even because it's a very this feature is developed for to respect the user privacy, right? It had a certain limitations. So you're not going to get any kind of click IDs related to any event, right?
Okay.
And we have like only 0 to 100 as a campaign ID is allowed. So it's like any app that you're promoting over the over the ads, you're allowed to create 1 to 100 campaign IDs for that. So this is the limitation, but this particular limitation we are using for our own good, So gather more information about the attribution thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Third is we are not going to get any user level data. So there's no IDFA, no extra information. We can't identify which user got converted, right?
Okay.
So that sends to no retargeting. We have no unique identification about the user, so we can't do the retargeting ads over the DSP. Right? So it's just on the probabilistic method. We can target that audience or we can't. Right?
Okay. All right. I mean,
Still,
yeah.
the last point would be no real-time data. So all
Yeah.
the pullback that is coming to us from the Apple will happen like once in a 24 hour. So it could be any point of time in 24 hours.
I mean, to me, as of now, it seems like, very strict and very user privacy oriented. And I wanted to know that what's in store for us. So this leads to another question. How one, they can be ready for this SK attribution setup? I mean, where one should start? Can you tell us?
Right. So the same question we are getting on a daily basis from our client, right? Right.
Yeah.
So the process seems very hectic and very complex, but it's a very straightforward thing.
Yeah.
You just need to get your Apple ID, that you
Okay.
can go from Apple website and generate your Apple ID.
Okay.
With that Apple ID, you need to enroll in a developer program, Apple developer program, right?
Okay.
And there you need to register yourself as a company. After this process is done, Apple will call you and do the verification. And there's like a nominal fees of $99 per year that Apple will going to charge.
Yeah.
So once you are done with this process, you need to register for SKAdNetwork. This will generate a SKAdNetwork ID. That is a unique identification ID on Apple environment or Apple ecosystem, so that they can identify these particular install activities done through your SKAdNetwork, right? Now, that particular SKAdNetwork ID will help you to generate the public key and the private key. So what is the use of this public key and the private key is, these public key and the private key along with your SKAdNetwork ID will help the affiliate to generate a signature. So whenever publishers running the ad on a different DSPs or advertising platform, these signatures will help to get promoted your application and Apple to do the further attribution about it.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, overall, this seems a very easy process. I mean, initially I was a bit skeptical, and there were many technical jargons and there were many things which we were not understanding. Thanks for clearing that out. So that leads me to another question, Himanshu. That what will be the flow for ad setup? I mean, and the conversion attribution. I mean, how will we, an MMP, get conversion in this case? As I understand, Apple will not be sending the post back to MMP. They will be sending post back to tracking platform. So can you tell us about this? Yeah.
So exactly, the Apple will not sending any kind of post back to the MMPs. So here the picture reverse, all the post back that Apple will fire first track to the tracking platform. So in our case, it's Trackier. So we'll get the post back from Apple, and on a real-time basis, we'll pass that post back to the MMP partner. So we have a flow like how the data is flowing in the all levels. So let's say app is an advertising app where your affiliate is running your ads. Where user sees the ad, click on it, and direct it to the app store. Where user download the application, let's say it's an app B.
Yeah.
And app B will have the SKAdNetwork IDs and the public key for the ad signature.
Okay.
Then on the user device level, like Apple do the further attribution and identify which SKAdNetwork it was and what public key it related to, and start sending post back whatever the post back URL it have in their system. So in that case, we'll get the post back with a very little information. We don't have any kind of information what publisher it was, what sub publisher it was. It's just the campaign ID, referring app, and the app that has been converted. That's it. So only that information we're going to get from the Apple as a post back.
So yeah. I mean, this looks easy to me as of now, and it will be firing post back to us in 24 hours, and we will forward that to MMP. Yeah, I think.
Right.
So, where does Trackier fits into the picture? How is Trackier handling this process? What are we doing here? Yeah.
Right. So we are all ready with the setup. So we know setup seems complex a little bit, quite technical the environment. So we try to minimize the man effort in this thing. We came up with the simplified process. So our CSM team will helping the client to generate this SKAdNetwork ID, whatever the technical information you need as a network to help you, register for the SKAdNetwork thing. We'll help you out with that. So once we have that SKAdNetwork ID, we just need to put up in this placeholder that we have on the platform. Right? Once you put up this SKAdNetwork ID on the Trackier platform, it will generate a dedicated postback URL that we need to share with the Apple. That postback URL is only the method from where we're going to get the postback from the Apple itself.
Okay.
Right. Now, once we have this postback URL shared with the Apple and the public key, the process of the integration is completed with the Apple and Trackier. So it might take a week depending upon the bandwidth that Apple have. Right. So once that is done, you're good to go with the Apple. All the integration is done with the Apple side.
Right. I mean, this seems a very neat process. Just no hassle. You have to just put your SKAd ID and share the postback with Apple. Okay. I'm done with the phase 1 process, and just to our audiences, you can ask your questions right now as soon as by going through the slides, and at the end we will be answering all your questions. We already have 2 questions with us, and that is very great. We encourage you to ask more and more so that by your experience and knowledge even others can benefit. So yeah. So coming to the webinar, Himanshu, I wanted to ask that now I will be getting a tracking URL from MMP partner. Am I right? Yeah. The setup will be different from what we were already doing earlier. So how it will be?
Right. So there will be a little bit difference in the setup that we usually coming up with. Now since ClickID is not playing any kind of role in this particular process. Right? So for the non-consent user who have like consent out from the app tracking thing, we need to provide a different kind of information to the MMP partner so that they can do the probabilistic method.
Yeah.
Right. So for this particular approach, we need to provide extra information. It could be like click IP, user agents, device local, that is language of the devices. Based on this information, MMP will do the further attribution based on the data they will get from the Apple that will send to them. All the tracking link information that is flowing by the click data, and whatever the information they get from the SDK on the advertising app. So combining all this information, they will do the probabilistic attribution thing, right? So after once you have created the campaign with the tracking URL they provide to you, they will ask you the relevant parameters, right? And ask you to set up a relevant macros against those particular parameters. Once you are like created a campaign, you just need to come to the campaign setting part and allow the SKAdNetwork attribution, right? Then you just need to select which MMP partner Trackier should send the post back to. Right?
Okay.
You might be working with AppsFlyer, Branch, Singular, Kochawa, Adjust, right? Any of them. You can just define like which MMP it should, which should send the post back for. Now, here we have the interesting part, that is mapping your SKAdNetwork ID and the publisher ID. So why we are doing it? Apple is sending back us the campaign IDs, and they say for particular applications 0 to 1 to 100 campaign IDs allowed, right? So we are considering this as a opportunity, so that at least we can identify what affiliate is promoting for. So here we have an option for 1 to 100 campaign IDs that we can put up, and against that we can put up the publisher ID. That matters, and with that, like, we'll get the information about the publishers who's promoting your application on different advertising platforms.
Okay. So now those who have joined us just now, I would like to tell you that we will be sharing the video of this whole webinar with you on mail, and the same will be uploaded to our official YouTube channel, which is of Trackiers. And in case you want to understand anything, you can just drop us a question, like the question being dropped that they want to understand. We will answer you definitely at the end of the session. So Himanshu, to sum it up, we just need to create a campaign, pass the data what they ask for, allow SKAdNetwork setup for campaign, map that ID, and done.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay. This seems interesting and not tedious at all. So after all this, how can I be sure that I will be passing information to MMP without any issue?
Yeah, exactly. So to solve this problem, we have created a test environment. So this test environment will send the dummy data, just like we're getting from the Apple on a real time, once in a 24 hours. So we'll send this simulated post back to the MMP partner, so they can identify actually like they are getting the post back data from our end or not, because it's an integration internally that we have created with the MMP partner along the endpoint they have shared with us. So this will make sure they're getting all the data from the tracking platform, right? So to do this particular process, you just need to select a campaign which is relevant for that particular SKAdNetwork thing, Then from 1 to 100, you can put up any campaign ID, right? It's just like mapping. Then after that, this conversion value will be shared by the MMP partner. So they have certain set of conversion value, 0 to 63 varies like upon the user to user. So with this particular conversion value, they will identify it's a test conversion. Once they have this particular simulated post back on their end, they will fire the privacy post back that we will share with them. So if we talk about the privacy post back here, so privacy post back is a post back which will going to work even there's a no click ID associated, right? So as we know, there's no click ID we're going to get from any mode of sources. It's just the publisher's ID and the campaign ID, most of it. So the privacy post back is a post back that we'll share with the SKAN MMP partners, and they'll fire to us whenever they get the conversion data.
I mean, this looks, very easy. It is not at all technical. I had this preconceived notion, it is going to be a very technical process, and we have to do a lot of to and fro. And this looks easy. Okay, it's just like our daily post back test system, but this we will be doing for advertiser.
Exactly. So it's a reverse process. You're sending the post back to the advertisers.
Yeah. So, I mean, now we have covered a lot of things. Now I wanted to ask one specific thing. So do publishers also need to make any changes here?
Yeah, so also publisher need to make certain changes in the post back URL, since no click ID we're going to send to those guys as well, right? So they need to share the post back URL with support, or which going to work without the click IDs, right? So we're just going to send the same campaign ID or source ID, whatever the information we get from the MMPs or Apple, to them, right? So it should be supportive for these kind of information, not just for the click ID. Then while you're sharing your, whenever you're asking your app publisher to promote your application, promote the ad campaign, you need to share your SKAdNetwork IDs with them, your public key, and the campaign ID that we are mapping in a particular campaign. With these three things, they're going to create a click signature, or like we say, signature in the application on wherever they're going to promote your mobile app or display the ads to the end user. So with these three things, they will generate a ad signature. And to generate an ad signature, the process has been shared by the Apple itself on their support doc that we will share with you the call, so that you can share with your affiliate and they will know the process. Right. So this is the whole environment that publisher need to get ready with to start promoting the iOS 14.5 supported campaigns.
Okay. Okay. So by far, we have covered the major things. We have covered, what Apple is doing, and how we can get the SKAdNetwork ID, and how we can set it up in the Trackier, and how Trackier is ready with all the changes, which are going in the market right now. So one thing I wanted to ask you. So finally, I need to understand, how postback will be sent to the publisher and then received from MMP.
Right, exactly. So the process would be reversed as we discussed. First we'll get the attributed data, pass the post back to the Trackier. In a real-time basis, whenever we get the post back, we send it to the MMP. MMP will do the further attribution from the data that they have from a click tracking, data we send that we get from the Apple, and the data that they have in a SDK thing. Finally, they do their probabilistic attribution and fire us the privacy post back with the little bit information about the campaign ID, publisher ID, and the app IDs. And once we have that information, we'll fire the publisher post back with the similar amount of information, so that at least each one of us get the information about the attribution about the install.
Okay. Thanks, Himanshu. I mean, that was very insightful. So guys, we have majorly, covered all the main points, and now what we will be doing is we will be answering your questions that you have asked us, one by one. So Himanshu, I would be telling you the questions, and would you care to, answer it one by one?
Sure.
Yeah, is that fine? Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So Mr. Divakar asks, that is the same is going to happen in Android? If yes, any time frame you guys can predict what it's going to impact on the business? I mean, how is it going to impact on the business? Very good question, Mr. Divakar.
Yeah. So Android also coming with the same concept to respect the user privacy. And according to them, they start sharing more information or more insight how the process is going to work to ease the process of advertisement on a different channels, different platform, right? Okay. So according to Google, by the end of this year or starting of next year, they will entirely vanish this particular GID. But yeah, it's still going to take a year. And if we talk about the impact on the businesses, it may impact a little bit. Thing is, I'm pretty much sure Google will come up with the similar kind of solution that Apple is coming to, so that we will get the attribution data on a real-time basis, or at least some data so that we can optimize a campaign.
So I hope, Mr. Divakar, we have answered your question. So we have another question, Himanshu, from Mr. Divakar only. That we at marketing willing to have it, need guidance from Trackier team. So
yeah, definitely. So we can schedule a call. You can just mail it us on support, or you can just contact your account manager. We have a proper time slot. We have one-on-one call and help you with the whole process. So that will be happy to cater you in that particular part.
Okay, Mr. Okay, Himanshu. So Mr. Puneet has asked me one thing. Sorry, I'm late. Can you please let me know how to I register for SKAdNetwork? Puneet, just you can refer. We will be sending you the whole recorded video of this webinar, and you can refer it. So this will answer your question. Okay.
Right. Even Puneet will make sure after this call, we'll send you all the steps personally. And if you want, we can schedule a one-to-one call and help you with the process.
So again, we have a question for Mr. Alper Egger. So if the campaign is live, what would we need to take into account if it is already live?
Right. If it's already live, see, as I mentioned, there's two situations. One is traffic is coming from those users who given the consent to allow the IDFA value, right? If that is the case, you're in a nice situation. You don't need to do any kind of changes. But if the traffic is, for those audience who said, I don't want to get tracked with the thing. Okay. So for that, your affiliate need to generate the ad signature. So ad signature would be generated with the campaign ID that will, map it in a particular campaign that we have just shown to you, along with your public key and the SKAN ID. So these three things will help them to generate a ad signature, which they need to promote in the advertising app.
Okay. I hope as per your answer, your question would be answered. And then we have a question from Mr. Faisal that, hello guys, can we get a document covering all this step? Yeah, Mr. Faisal, you can. We will be mailing you the document, we'll mailing you the video, and we will be giving you a link of our knowledge base where we have already covered these things. Okay, and surely you would get receive a mail from us. Okay, then there is another question from Mr. Rudresh Gaur. That, do I need to create separate campaigns for Android and iOS devices in Trackier?
So that totally, I would suggest like you should create in initial phases and a separate campaign, because even like if your MMP allowed to have a like single URL and they're easily like to sort out the traffic on a different URLs for iOS and the Android, then you will like create a single campaign. But in case your MMP suggests you to for going with the separate campaigns for both the things, I would recommend create a different campaign for Android and iOS.
Okay, Mr. Rudresh, it is recommended by our expert. So yeah. So again, there's another question by him only. That, will the MMP link will be different for both?
Yeah, MMP link will be the different for both, because still Android allowing to get the user level data, so you will get the post back via click ID. But for iOS, in the most of the time, you're going to get post back without the click ID, just the campaign ID and the publisher ID. So yes, so the URL would be different. And for the iOS campaign, MMP would be needing more information associated with the click IPs, user agents, device local, etc. So that would be a little bit different. So MMP link will be different in both the cases.
Okay. Okay, I hope Mr. Rudresh, your question is answered. Coming to another question, that what if an app is supported for earlier versions and iOS 14.5, okay, and onwards, still SKAdNetwork ID is needed?
Can you please repeat?
Yeah. But if an app is supported for earlier versions, okay, and iOS 14.5 and onwards, still SKAdNetwork ID is needed.
Yeah, see, so whenever end user upgrade their mobile application to this particular iOS version, right? By default, Apple is not allowing the traffic or allowing the consent to share the IDFA. So that means you still need the SKAdNetwork ID in the whole process.
Okay. Okay. So there's one question from Nihant Verma. The campaigns with version 14.5 and above needs SKAdNetwork ID. What about below 14.5 versions?
So for below, like there's no as such process. You will start, keep getting the IDFA values. So it's just like initially we discuss about the consent and non-consent about the user. So if it's below like 14.5, so if the user is allowed to have the IDFA value with you or your publishers who are running the advertisement ad, you'll still get the IDFA value. So it's the same process. It's not differ like what's you're running right now. But any users who are utilizing the iOS, Apple mobiles with the higher version from 14.5, you need a SKAdNetwork in that process.
Okay. So it's a thank you from Mr. Rudresh, who's previous questions we have answered, Himanshu. And there's one more question that can you guys share any SKAdNetwork ID format?
Yeah, we'll share it with you. So it's just like a little bit alphanumeric value that initially that have .com and like something related to the Apple ID. So we'll share a format with you, and we can't share any client SKAdNetwork ID, but after this call, we'll share the format.
Yeah,
we'll identify with that.
That's all from the question. And we have another question from Mr. Saurabh. Hello. If any campaign gives minimum version 11 and maximum, did you get that? Or wait.
Right. So for 11 and like 14.5 up to like 14 iOS version, you're going to get like all the traffic as usual. All the IDFA value will be attributed from the end user. But any users that is using like more than 14.5, that is maximum. And I think like in next month or next to next month, we're going to have iOS version 15, right? So that's the maximum version that we have in next 2 months. So all the user who are using between the 14.5 to 15, you're not going to get any IDFA value in that particular part. Most of them, right? So in that case, you need this SKAdNetwork setup with your affiliate so that you have at least a little bit of information about the attribution that your traffic getting.
Okay, I mean, that's all from, Q&A. And I think we have all the questions, and I think there's one more question. Okay, there's one more question. Will we need to have different campaigns for pre iOS 14.5 and post iOS 14.5?
Not necessary. You can set up a single campaign. So right now, what MMP and platform is doing, they're asking all the information, click ID and etc. etc. So if there's a normal process, any user which is using below 14.5 and sending the data or clicking on the tracking URL, will get all the information as usual. So that means you don't need to create a separate campaign for that support like lesser than 14.5 version and higher than 14.5 version. Single campaign will work in all the cases.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, those were the questions. Mr. Nihant has thanked us for the info. So I don't think we have more questions here, guys. If you have any questions, so please do ask us. Meanwhile, Himanshu, what I would like to ask, is that our users, what would be the last verdict that you want to give to our users, and about this whole SKAdNetwork and the iOS 14.5 update? What is the last word?
So I would suggest these kind of things, or like restriction, privacy, is a part of the industry, and time to time we might getting more complicated scenarios in which we need to deal up in a real environment, right? So we don't need to worry about this. As a Trackier, as a SaaS company, we'll make sure to have all the problem statement and their solution with us, right? So we'll try to maximize the thing and provide the solution, whatever we can for any kind of issue. Like, as we know, UID will going to get vanished. Even like Chrome is saying, like, they opting out all the cookies from next year, 2020, right? So all the cookies will be vanished from the system. So we need to be ready about these kind of situation.
Okay. So thanks, Himanshu. Thanks, Siddharth, for joining us, and thank you everyone who has joined. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule. And once again, we will be doing this kind of similar webinars in the future and helping you with all the updates you have in the EdTech world. Okay, and you can contact us at support@trackier.com. We will be sending you feedback mails to please give us feedback. How did the webinar go? Is there anything we need to do differently, or is there any topic that you want us to cover? And we would be definitely acting on your feedback and whatever experience you have. Okay, so that would be all. Again, thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Siddharth, and thank you everyone for joining. That would be all. Stay safe. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.